Good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 in the evening on August 21st, 2019, and this is a summary of my comparison between the ZMF Aeolus and the Sennheiser HD700, a more different pair of headphones you could probably not find. These things are apples and oranges. They're very different from each other. And the subscriber who asked for this comparison was doing a very wise thing to ask for this comparison because it gives people options and really good options. The problem is the price tag. You have the HD700, if you buy it brand new from Sennheiser directly, it's $750 plus tax and all of that. If you go for the Aeolus, then it's $1,100 to $1,200 plus you got to wait at least 5 to 6 weeks in order to get it. And, they're not even comparable in the sound signature department. The HD700 is a really airy, open, and resolving headphone that provides a good amount of detail. Not the most amazing amount of detail I've ever heard, but certainly an excellent amount when compared to the Aeolus. The only other headphone I can think of readily, and I'm sure there's at least one or two others, but the one that really jumps out at me that would beat the 700 without any issues as far as detail is concerned, is the older brother, the 800, the 800S. But the 700 does a fairly good job in retaining the detail, the soundstage, the depth, the verticality, and it doesn't get as sibilant as people made it out to be online. That's not to say it isn't sibilant. It can, in fact, get sibilant depending on the song that you're listening to, the equipment that you have. For example, if you're using a really clean and analytical amplifier and DAC combination, that is just going to pump your headphone that's already prone to peakiness to be even more peaky because of that hyper detail that is always present. And on top of that, the type of music that you listen to and the recording format. So let me give you a picture. If you have death metal songs, right? Death metal, and you've burned them off a CD into MP3 format for some strange reason, and you're listening to it on your 789 or your THX desktop, and you put on the 700s and you crank up the volume to near max, what can you expect? Well, you could expect your eardrums to probably bleed because that setup is basically setting up to go deaf. And you should be very careful how the equipment is set up with your pair of headphones. Not every piece of equipment that you have is going to pair well with every headphone because the headphones have different signatures. The problem that I've had when researching the HD700 and preparing for the review between it and the Aeolus is that people complain about the 700, but I rarely, if ever, found actual empirical data that would help me understand why they found the issues with the peakiness. For example, what type of amplifier and DAC were they using? What type of music were they listening to? How loud were they listening to the music? What type of file format did they have? These are all details that contribute to understanding where the problem lies, if there is, in fact, a problem. Now, there is a potential problem depending on how you listen to the music. The HD700, as I described in my treble review of it, between it and the Aeolus, does become sibilant and peaky because it has that energy up top that the Aeolus lacks. And if you pump that volume knob, you keep turning it to the max, you're going to feel it. But if you're reasonable with it, you're unlikely really to feel the peakiness. You will feel the energy, but it won't be ear-piercing, at least in the tests that I have conducted. Now, what about the Aeolus? Well, the Aeolus will never, ever get peaky. The Aeolus will never become harsh. The Aeolus is the smoothest sounding headphone I have ever heard to date. But that doesn't mean that it's a great headphone for you. See, here's the thing. There are songs that would just meld perfectly with the Aeolus because of its sonic signature. jazz, which requires a very intimate and very subdued presence. It's supposed to sound warm and comforting. Orchestral music will sound fantastic with the Aeolus because it will not allow music to get harsh and peaky, especially with horn instruments. But with other types of songs and genres, it may not really suit well. Is it good for vocals? Yeah, if you like to listen to vocals, it gives a very intimate presentation to the vocals, very closed off soundstage, very narrow soundstage. But if you like vocals to be airy and open, and you want your soundstage, and you want detail in a vocalist's voice, the Aeolus simply cannot do that. It wasn't designed to do that. Bottom line, in my opinion, in order to choose between these two, you really have to decide what it is that you lack in your collection of headphones, if you have a collection. If you already have a very resolving headphone, or something that has detail and is open sounding and is airy, then the HD700 seems to be rather redundant. But if you don't have something like the HD700, then that might be an option. On the other hand, if you've never heard something that is intimate and smooth as silk, which, by the way, I have to admit, is rather hard to find, then the Aeolus is such a fantastic headphone that, boy, it really does call out to people. It entices individuals to go out and buy it because it is so darn unique. That is my conclusion between these two headphones. Neither is better than the other, categorically. Now, there might be certain things that the 700 does better than the Aeolus. A little bit more detail overall, much more soundstage and width and airiness, but that may not mean that it's the right headphone for you, and vice versa. I hope this has been of some help, and I hope that this review process between the Aeolus and various headphones will help you make a decision as to which headphone you would be most happy with. As always, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want me to review any particular product that's in my equipment list, please use the link that's in the description below. Furthermore, if you want to listen to the playlist, my playlist on Spotify is available in the comments as well. Finally, I do want to emphasize that I am now on Patreon, and I would really appreciate it if maybe if I'm lucky, all of you might consider donating a little bit of money towards me and towards my channel. It has been a long road. I'm creeping up to 200 videos. I have surpassed 260 subscribers, and even though I'm a very, very tiny, minuscule, nondescript channel, I am doing the best I can, and any type of donation that you can give to me through Patreon would be greatly appreciated. For a couple of dollars a month, you would help me with financing further purchases and getting treats for the dogs. And if you can afford to give a little bit more and you want to give a little bit more, I would really be thankful. And if you choose not to and you just want to be a subscriber, again, I thank you for that too. I am very grateful to have each and every one of you as one of my subscribers. I hope all of you have a wonderful night, and we will talk again soon.